we're disruptive, but we're also creating a category. So it has its pros and its cons, right? So, on the pro side, you're going into a territory where no one else has gone before. So you're forging a new path. And it's interesting, right? It's something that hasn't really been done before. It hasn't really been sold before. The cons are, I guess, the same things in that you are forging new territory, you're forging new path. And we've been in the market now. It was still early days in our go-to-market and our commercialization, but we have tangible case studies and success in building this category, which is like really exciting.
So welcome to this week's Leaders on a Mission. And I'm your host, Simon Leach. And today we're going to be diving into the world of alternative meat. Now, after years of hype and some backlash, the industry is really searching for, its next chapter. And I'm really excited. And joining me on the show today is Kimberlie, CEO and founder of a company called Prime Roots. Now, Prime Roots, they've been using Koji, which is a naturally high protein fungus, to create deli meats that are sustainable, clean label, and chef approved. And, we're going to chat with Kim today about her journey and scaling food innovation and what it really takes to stand out in a crowded, skeptical market. So, Kim, thanks so much for coming on today. Great to see you.
Simon, thanks for having me. Excited to have this conversation.
Awesome. And tell me a little bit, as we start this, just, I don't know, some key moments for you in your professional kind of personal journey that led to you founding this business, as it were.
I love this question. I think for a lot of founders, it's connecting a lot of dots in the past that kind of lead you to starting a company. And for me, it starts from childhood. So I grew up in the food industry. My mom's a chef. And so I love food. And I should probably start by saying I'm a very proud flexitarian. So I'm not actually vegan or vegetarian. And I'm building products for people like myself, or now a third of the US population identifies as flexitarian. So folks who are looking to reduce their meat consumption for a variety of different reasons. But the fact of the matter is 95% of the population plus eats meat. And we're trying to make it tasty, like pulling back into the chef background within my family, and making products that are great for our health and great for the environment. So, a lot of folks, my generation, Gen Z, millennials, are really, really looking for products that align with our values and making small impacts that can lead to large impacts in terms of how we live our everyday lives. And wanting to make things that are better for people and the planet. And that was really a big motivation for starting the company. In high school, I founded the environmental club at my high school, did a lot of work, just environmentalism, and found that combining my love for science, entrepreneurship, and my family background in hospitality and food was the best way to do that. And so at Prime Roots, we're really trying to make products that are for all eaters. So we're made by meat eaters for all eaters, inclusive of vegetarians and vegans, that are doing great by the planet and for their health. And it's, the rest of us that are trying to do a bit better. But we don't want to compromise on taste or quality of the products. And so we're focusing on, at Prime Roots, deli meats that are actually the most consumed food in America, in the form of a sandwich. So targeting a space that very, very few before us have actually focused on. And so we actually don't do burgers, the nuggets, like a lot of the stuff that has had a lot of hype, I would say, over the years. We don't do any of that. And we also do our strategy a lot better in that we don't use any ultra processed ingredients. And it's taken us a lot of development to get here.
Yeah, no, awesome. And just tell me a load of things to unpack there, right? So I don't know, let's start a little bit in the journey. Were you always an entrepreneur, or were you always going to go and lead and kind of run and grow a company? Was that always within you?
Yes, I guess it's kind of part of my personality. Like I always want to do things differently and do things and see white spaces and want to explore them and do the hard things. So I think so. Both my parents are entrepreneurs, so I kind of grew up with that spirit and environment at home. Did I want to? I would say no, because it is hard. I mean, I saw how hard it was for my parents. They're working all the time, always, even if you're not working, you're thinking about work and you're thinking about how to do things better. But I think because of how I grew up and my general drive and personality, it really led me to entrepreneurship. And we're a very mission driven organization. And so like my personal, mission is to make as big of an impact on our planet, that we all live on. And I found that, entrepreneurship was a way that you could scale that to the masses.
Yeah. No, got it. No, that's great. We'll come back to some of that stuff a little bit later on there, but let's just dive a little bit into the deli meat space, right? And that market was, I mean, it's been some journey, right, in the alternative protein space. Was that always the market when you first started, or was that as a result of kind of a natural kind of pivot or two during that journey?
We started really with the premise of wanting to reimagine protein as a whole, like, and knowing that the way that we consume protein today as a world is via meat. So how can we make the things that we love better? And we knew it wasn't using conventional approaches. So the soy, the glutens, the really processed plant proteins. I already saw the writing on the wall for
Did
all of
you?
that when I
Right.
started
Yeah.
the company. And so when and I knew that it had to start with the protein source, making it clean, but having something that actually had the actual mouthfeel, had the taste of meat, but not having to resort to all the processing. And you can leverage technology to enhance nature and also be inspired by nature to make better products. And so we really did all of those things. And so we use a fungi base, the mycelium that we use, is really pushing that envelope, and that we can provide a whole food source of protein without having to use ultra processing, which is now all the rage within food as a whole, especially in the US. It's a big part of the dialogue. We saw this coming at the very beginning. And so we're really excited to be in a position where, we can really tap into the trends of today that we knew were coming, and we knew the backlash was going to come, because you flip over one of these conventional labels, you're like, there's so many chemicals on here, there's things you can't pronounce, and the ingredient lists are like so long. And that's what we really didn't want to make, because we knew that meat eaters like ourselves didn't want that. And so when you build for yourself first and you're solving a problem that you have and that a lot of other people out there have, it makes it easier to see these things.
Yeah, absolutely. It really, yeah, things have evolved so much, right, in terms of the drivers. It only seems like a few years ago, everyone was so excited by the sustainability kind of journey on it that sometimes that nutrition profile and the clean label thing, it was almost like, yeah, it was a challenge, right? It was a significant challenge out there. And yeah, no, it's amazing to hear you talk that you've really been focused on that kind of clean label play as well, right?
Yeah, I think there's so many parallels to, cars, for example, something that may be a little bit more tangible or that we may understand, a lot better. Like, it, we have, as a society, said that we need to transition away from fossil fuels. Not everybody will agree with that, but a lot of people, a lot of the general population, has the sensibility that this is an important thing to do as a planet, as a species. And, the EV movement started a long, long time ago. And for a long time, the products weren't there. Consumers had massive range anxiety, which doesn't really exist very much today because the products have gone so much better. And then, there are even still, like Mirais out there and like hydrogen technologies and these other technologies that didn't gain traction, and a lot of fallout, a lot of periods within the consumer adoption curve, the ups and downs that have led to EVs to where they are today. I think every single new category that's being created goes through the cycles. And so I think within the alternative protein space, we're just in the cycle. And I think it's not a good or bad thing. It's just a part of the course.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, no, without doubt. Although I think with consumers, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I look at it like you saw a lot of rhetoric with individuals that were considering their meat consumption and they were trying products, right? And they were trying products, and ultimately just the quality of product wasn't there. And, hence they went back to eating, what they were eating, right? They went back to eating meat, as it were, right? So there's a trust thing here with the consumer, isn't there, though? It's the how many times do they then, when their trust is broken, as it were, how do you get that trust back again? How do you get them to, to go down that road again?
And we're not asking them to try another burger or another nugget. And that's
Yeah.
really where I think overall Prime Roots is really different in the space. And we're going to cut through and really forge the path for the industry by checking the boxes of we are clean label. We are doing things that fit the trends where they are, not minimally processed. We have the protein. We have the things that people want. And we're now doing it in a category that is different. And it's like actually a category that's extremely vilified on the meat side of things. Like most people know that, or they've heard that deli meats aren't the best for you, whether it be the nitrates, the preservatives, the cholesterol. Doctors are actively telling their patients very, very often to cut processed meat consumption. And so we are working, within the trends and in a different way that no one else has done before. And so we're not asking consumers to try again. We're asking consumers to try where consumer awareness of plant-based is at an all-time high. Consumer distaste of deli meats is also at an all-time high, especially in the US. Recalls, many issues with deli meats have scared consumers. They're open to change and they want to find these options. I think I was looking at a stat today, like 67% of consumers want to try plant-based products. And I think 44% of the general population is open to a plant-forward diet. That's, in 2024, 2025. And consumer awareness and interest is very high. A lot of people still haven't tried plant-based products. And so we'd love to be that first step. We'd love to be a path back into deli meats in areas where people may not even want to eat the regular meats. We're not replacing a steak or a chicken breast, or people are working hard in the gym and eating these products. They're much better for your health than deli meats that are very objectively not great for your health.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I was watching, there was a program not on last night. It was just a UK program, and it was talking about the process. It was showing you in a factory how they process these things. And the thing that got to me, I never realized, it's the color they add to it as well. I never even realized it, in terms of they obviously try and make it as attractive as possible. And then the nitrates, it's more around kind of preservatives, isn't it?
Mhm.
To keep it as fresh as possible. I never actually realized how nasty they were. And as someone that actually eats quite a lot of processed meat, I actually thought good protein source, right? I'd never really kind of, really considered the nasties, but it's really when you look at the label and you actually explore a bit further, how bad they really are.
Yeah, and a lot of people do know that and are learning about it, like yourself. And so it's able to tap into all of the, education and the trends, which I think is what really, really, really sets us apart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, like, we were just chatting before that this week we're recording this in July, like on the 11th of July, but you've had a kind of press release this week, and it looks like you've launched, a new category, some new products this week as well, right? So tell us a little bit about this is, the products that you're launching, and yeah, give us a little bit of context about that.
Yeah, so we've launched our deli lineup about 2 years ish ago, a little over 2 years ago. And so we've been gathering feedback from the market for consumer tastings. We've sampled millions of slices of product out into the world. Our product was best of class, is best of class today in terms of all the plant-based products out there. But we always knew, there were things that we wanted to make better, that consumers wanted us to make better. And we did that. So we were able to iterate the product, change up our processes, made some minor ingredient tweaks, and we were able to release a product that we did a lot of consumer sensory panels and blind taste tests side by side with meat, like leading conventional meat brands. Over 50% of meat eaters preferred or would choose prime roots in a blind taste test. And that's a
Really? Wow,
huge
that's
moment.
super impressive.
Yeah,
Over 50%.
yep, and they're trying meat side by side with meat, and they don't know what they're getting, so they're just choose A, or which one do you like better, A or B? um, and so it's quite an important moment for us because we're putting a product out there, relaunching a whole line of products that are with a new recipe, with a new packaging, but what's inside it has this impact to really change the minds of meat eaters and change the taste buds, and is something that people are loving. And so we're really excited to make that change. And I think especially as a startup, the product iteration never stops. But we want to really do big refreshes and really rethink how we're approaching product development, technology development. That's like who we are at our core and how we started as a business. And so keeping that, to always pushing that forefront, to gaining more consumers. Hopefully one day we'll get close to 100% of people who love the taste of our products and would choose it over meat.
Well, I've never tasted it, right? So tell me, what is the feedback then, as it compares to conventional kind of meat? What kind of feedback are you hearing?
I think usually it's just people think it's meat, and they're like, "Wait, it's not meat? Oh, that means it's better for me, right?" And it is. And that's what we want. We want people to be able to make these simple swaps in their sandwiches that they're making already. Not have to compromise on taste, have that familiarity. A lot of people are like, oh, well, people want things. If you're vegan, why do you want something that tastes like meat? It's like a common question we get. It's because most people eat meat, and most people grew up eating meat, and especially for a deli meat, like what else are you going to put in your sandwich? A bunch of bland tofu slices? You want that umami. Like culinary traditions have been built around meat, and so having that familiarity, having that convenience is what we crave as humans. And so
Yeah.
having something that hits that spot, I think especially for a processed meat, we've actually had people say, oh, wait, so this is less processed than regular meats, right? It's like, yeah, in some ways it really is less processed. We're using the same spicing and seasonings, but we're not processing it as much as like an animal deli meat. We're not adding the preservatives or the nitrates, so we can actually make deli meats better.
So it is a clean label solution, this.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting, isn't it, when you think about the flexitarian and the modern flexitarian, because there's lots of different kind of meals that you have and different categories of meat that you eat, right? So maybe it becomes a little bit more like a choice, really, like in terms of, where you are going to introduce a bit more kind of flexitarian, into your approach, because it sounds like you kind of cover all things here, right? You're covering the sustainability, you're covering the kind of taste and the clean label solution here as well, right?
So the texture, like we're really checking all the boxes for all the consumers, and so we pride ourselves in being a no compromises approach.
Got it. Yeah. And what's the best selling product right now, as it were, in terms of because I think you've got a few, right? You've got a turkey and a pastrami, right? So
we have multiple flavors of ham,
ham, yeah.
multiple flavors of turkey. We have a salami, pepperoni. We have quite a few different products. And so the market in deli is composed in the US mostly of ham, turkey, and salami. That's about 65% of like 70% of the deli as a whole. So we have the core items that make up the deli. We have different flavors because different regions have different flavor preferences, and people like to have the choices as well. So yeah, we really cover the top, items. But we can go, much further into more product categories. Really, sky's the limit for us. And it all
Yeah.
starts at the same base. So we don't actually, it's not like we have to source chickens or turkeys and pigs and beef to make all these different things. It all starts in the same base.
Yeah. It all starts with the Koji, as it were.
Yeah, and so from, like more of a business, like entrepreneurship, company building, category building perspective, what we're doing from a manufacturing perspective actually can help to make our supply chains for these products more efficient longer term, because you're not, having to start with all these various inputs. You're starting with one, core base of clean protein from the fungi that can be made into all of these different things. So, as we think about, where are we going to go as a business, like we can go anywhere meat is, like in any form factor, in any type, in the deli case, out of the deli case. Like we've built the foundation to be the next Hormel, Tyson, large protein company. And going back to, starting the company, protein was the core. And we're starting in the deli case where we can actually be that drop-in replacement very easily. And sky's really the limit because we have this core technology that's so powerful and makes these no compromises products.
Yeah, awesome. Tell us a little bit about that market, right? That deli market. I'm so used to hearing people, talking about different channels and, whether it be food service or into the retailer. Like getting into the deli counter and I suppose driving growth. Tell us a little bit about that kind of journey, how you do that, and what's required from the company in order to to really access the channel.
It's a great question. So what we're doing is category creation at the end of the day, right? We are adding a small section today to the deli of plant-based, better for you items that doesn't exist. For most products out there in the alternative protein space, if a product goes in, a product has to go out to make room for that. For us, we're actually creating a category where, we're adding incrementality, which I think is like very powerful, as an industry, because you're adding things that meet people where they're at, and you can drive the future generation growth. Like we sometimes call ourselves a new school deli brand, for the next generation. Like we're building really these products that are future proof for people who are looking for those items as the population, taste preferences shift. And so we're disruptive, but we're also creating a category. So it has its pros and its cons, right? So, on the pro side, you're going into a territory where no one else has gone before. So you're forging a new path. And it's interesting, right? It's something that hasn't really been done before. It hasn't really been sold before. The cons are, I guess, the same things in that you are forging new territory, you're forging new path. And, we've been in the market now. It was still early days in our go-to-market and our commercialization, but, we have, tangible case studies and success in building this category, which is like really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And am I right in thinking in terms of like deli owners, what comes to mind for me are all very small kind of, like not mums and pups, well, mums and pups shops, but like literally, it's it's not like selling to the grocery channel, or it's not like a massive, kind of food manufacturer, right? So
Well,
how do you best access that channel?
it's a great question. So, like, the beauty of the deli is that it exists at all levels. And this is, so we, like in New York City alone, there are 14,000 independent delis. So
Right.
obviously that is different than,
40,000.
it's crazy, right? And the like Kroger's of the world, the Albertsons, the large grocery retailers, they all have delis.
Yeah.
And we access all of the food service channel as well, because most food service operators have slicers or slicing products in store
Mm,
already on the conventional meat side. And so we actually can access the entire field of places that serve food, really,
got it.
which I think is for a startup, that is the challenging part, where there's so many places the products could go. It's tough when you don't have, infinite resources to be able to adjust the market. So we've really focused on where we are getting a lot of the signals, and where we're having a lot of success. So there's areas we like don't really touch today, but we could in the future.
Yeah, yeah. So with 14,000 kind of deli counters in New York, that's obviously a prime market. Tell me, what's the second and third kind of markets for kind of deli counters in the US then, outside of New York?
Well, there's about 50 or so thousand grocery stores that have delis in them. There's a million food service operators out there. So the landscape of where we can play is very large. The size is definitely not the challenge.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really, how do you block and tackle the market and make sure you're putting the products where you have the consumer that's on the right stage of the adoption curve.
Yeah, no, got it. Absolutely. And so tell us a little bit about like it sounds like you make great progress with things, right? And like from a manufacturing viewpoint, what are the constraints for production, as it were? And do you need to, you know, do you need to work with third party? Yeah, how you looking at manufacturing and kind of building real supply?
I started the company 6, 7 years ago. And we were not quick to market because we wanted to focus on building a transformational product and a transformational technology base to set the foundation for us to build a future protein company. And the way that we're going to market and making that initial focused impact is via the deli. And so in that time, we were building the foundation. Um, I didn't realize this was an uncommon thing in our space, but we actually launched a product where we didn't lose money. And we worked, 5 years to develop the technologies, commercialize it, get it to scale, where when we were selling products, we were, not losing money in every product we sold because we had solid fundamentals. And our products are not priced at a premium. So we're actually in the deli case side by side with other meats. Sometimes they're a little bit more, sometimes they're a little bit less, but in terms of how they're priced and structured in the market, they're like side by side with meat. And
Yeah.
that's really, really big, to be able to have that structure and discipline. And it takes time. And in terms of scale, we've unlocked all of those barriers to scale before really, really even hitting the market.
Yeah, no, tremendous. Because then, I mean, it's generally quite an expensive category, anyhow, right? Isn't it? It's the whole category in itself is a premium category, isn't it? Really, if that's how I look at it.
Deli,
Yeah,
it is a convenient protein option, and so
right. Yeah,
consumers don't have to cook it, and so willing to pay more for that.
yeah. Absolutely. And so, like, yeah, it's been an exciting run over the last kind of. When did you found the company? Was it around 2020?
2018.
2018, okay. So it's been some journey over the last 7 years, as it were, isn't it? And tell me about like now, like how you see the future of the business then in terms of scale and growth and, what your hopes and dreams are.
So really our focus now is really on the commercialization efforts of, addressing the very, very large market ahead of us. And really being able to get the products to, where consumers are demanding it. We have a tremendous amount of consumer demand, and it's finding the right partners to work with to get the products out in a way that addresses those consumers. So it's really lining up all of the things, we have a lot of that already kind of figured out on the operational manufacturing, obviously development of the product side of things, and we're really trying to piece together everything on the commercial side of the business. So that's really the focus of the business right now. And I think that's a natural trajectory for a lot of startups that, spend time in the development to make a groundbreaking product that's fundamentally changing the game, getting it to market and figuring out how, where, how to do that is what we're tackling now. And it's
Yeah.
for some companies it's small market size, you have to build it. Our market is the opposite, where it's very large market size. We need to figure out how to build the category within it.
Got it. Yeah. And what's it like out there now when you're talking to, there's so much, the journey with alternative protein is certainly on the investment side. It's been a challenging space. Investors by and large haven't done too well investing into this space. So how are you viewing things now in this exciting category and your approach? How are you seeing the investment kind of side of things at the moment? Are they evolving and shifting, and are you feeling confident about that?
I think with a lot of industries that go through a big boom like period, a lot of people get into it from both the entrepreneur side and the investor side for, I don't want to call it the wrong reasons, but for reasons that may not be building the right fundamentals to scaling these groundbreaking businesses that, transform industries. And so, especially when, Impossible Meat and Beyond had their moment in the spotlight with consumers. But obviously, looking back now, the products were subpar for all the things we've talked about: health, nutrition, etc. Um, a lot of other players tried to get in at that time too. And when you try to get to market quickly with a subpar product, I mean, we all know how that story ends. And so we've been very disciplined and building the core technology and the core foundation of the business, so that we, beyond deli, like we have so many other opportunities as a business and with our technology. And so um, we're very fortunate to be in the position that we are in. And we're really excited to be building and not worried about, capital markets, and any of that at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, understand. Yeah, no, thank you for that. Yeah, so and for you, like when you think about your journey as well, right? What have been the biggest challenges you think you've kind of faced within this journey? Over the last 7 years, it is not an easy job being a co-founder and a founder of an exciting startup business. It does have lots of challenges. What have you found particularly challenging?
It's a good question. I mean, startups, you don't get into startups for an easy job. And so I think, we have the same challenges as many startups have. I think it's the rewarding thing is the pace of learning and growth is so high. Um, and as a business, I think the biggest challenge that we're facing right now is it's actually outside of our control, which I think is what makes it most frustrating. There's a lot of macroeconomic happenings and governmental policy happenings and changes that impact our business, that we have no control over. And so I think that is probably one of the more challenging things that we're dealing with right now as a business, a lot of external factors, whether it be tariffs or trade wars or whatever it might be. So that's definitely challenging, but everyone is navigating through it. And I think as a startup, we have a lot of strategic maneuverability, which we're, fortunate for. And I think everything that's hard makes us stronger.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you think from 2018 when you started to now, we've seen a few things right out there through challenges in terms of some of the stuff that we've experienced as a as a world, right?
Yeah, like a global pandemic.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, just throw it in there, right? It's yeah. I mean, it's yeah, significant, isn't it? Um, yeah, it has been tough. Tell me though, like just on the tariff side and the geopolitical stuff that's going on, particularly in the US, does any of it play to your favor, as it were? I'm thinking about, I suppose, a US manufacturer of this alternative, protein, as it were. Is there any way of playing it to your favor?
I'm sure there are, ways to look at it from a glass half full perspective. The reality is we can't source all of our ingredients from the US.
Yeah,
Spices, a lot of spices don't grow in the US, cannot grow in the US.
yeah,
We use a
okay,
lot of spices in our product and inputs. And so we're definitely figuring out ways to
right,
um kind of navigate what's going on. I think the biggest thing is, as a startup, there's so much uncertainty already. Every day looks different. There's always things that are, thrown your way. You're already juggling a lot of things. I think the uncertainty in the world today doesn't help.
yeah,
So I think that's particularly challenging, is navigating something that we usually think is going to be stable, like the government, and a lot of the geopolitical situations are usually stable for the most part in like the company's life until now. I think just personally, it's a very interesting time to be running a business and having to make a lot of decisions, really not knowing and not being able to know a lot of things that usually we would have more clarity on.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for sharing. And tell us a little bit about the kind of how many people do you have working at the company?
We're about 20 people. Um,
Okay, so really quite lean, and yeah, and well, it's one of the things you said. It's in kind of startup world, that's the beauty of it, really, isn't it? It's keeping things really lean, as it were.
yeah, we can
And
do a lot with not too much.
yeah, 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 absolutely. And what tell me a little bit about the culture of the company, the people that work with you, and etc.
So we don't have any vegans on our team.
Right,
I
really.
think that's like a core part of how we approach the what we're doing. We're
Yeah,
making products that are obviously vegan friendly, vegetarian friendly, but we're really aligned around making our products meatier and better. And we taste test our products every single day. And we're always trying to make it better. It's like, would we eat this more if we made these changes? Like, how do we get ourselves to, how do we get our families and people like ourselves to want this product more, eat this product more, crave this product. So um we eat a lot of stuff at the office very, very often. So that's a big part of our culture is around the food, quality, and the mission behind the company, and making products that are moving the needle from an industry like economics perspective, but also from a taste and an impact perspective.
yeah, yeah. That sounds awesome. And what about kind of plans for international as well? I mean, when am I going to be able to taste this product over in the UK?
We get a lot of requests in Europe and the UK, and in other countries like Canada as well. There's actually a much higher rate of vegetarian and veganism, a lot more openness as a percentage of population as well. So we're working on it. You'll be first to know, Simon.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, look, we could chat all day about this, but it's been great having you, come on and talk through the journey. It's been fascinating, listening to your journey over the last kind of 7 years and your kind of approach to market and the quality with your products and your vision and drive for the future of this. Actually, it sounds really exciting. So definitely, let's watch this space, and we wish you all the very best.
Thanks, Simon.
So yeah, thanks so much for coming on, and thanks for all the listeners tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you on the next one.